even though this was purged with gas, there's still evidence of rust on the crank webs. Luckily, this is meant to be upside down in the engine or in the bike, which means it's much easier to really purge it of moisture sucking corrosive methanol and nitro compounds. Oh, ignition trigger is loose. I'm gonna drill deep holes for the set screws to register in now. Drill the pockets deeper. We're gonna take the crank out and screw it again and weld, as so many have suggested. Let's weld the crank, because it moves far too easy. It's not really a faulty crank. It's just, I'll show you why, but it's so tiny and there's so little material. One thing is the crank's fault, and that is that the crank pin is hollow on this crank, which doesn't help. Creates a weaker press fit, at least with the same tolerances as. But this definitely is a problem. The reason I'm doing this here is because there's so much crap everywhere now. All my actual benches. I'm gonna through the crank regardless. So I'm gonna use a soft hammer and hammer it out of there. I think I will want to thread the clearance holes here for a puller. I'll have to pull that bearing off, but here you can see the part of the problem. First of all, the pin is hollow, and also these cranks have this bevel here, and as the crank is so small with the comparatively large stroke, the material material on this side is really thin. Like, there's little material here compared to what it usually is. So that's why that's part of the reason why it moves so easy. Ignition trigger mounting is problematic. I'm wondering if I can find room for mounting the trigger inside the case. Drill a hole in the crank and use that as the trigger point, a magnet, glue in a magnet. Otherwise we're gonna find a way to, I don't want to pin this on here because I don't want to weaken the crank, as this is the drive side of the crank. We gotta find a good solution for this. Could machine this and have the trigger sit here. That actually would have been a really good, and then we can use some compound to seal the wire, and it would exit here, which is totally fine. That would mean we could do away with this, and crank timing would not be able to slip. So now the crank is running out by about 0.2 millimeters again. High with conrod close. And let's use my my jig here and see. High with conrod close means this web has to be given a knock. Low there, high, still high with conrod close. Low, high with conrod close. So it's not that easy to move around. And being out of true now could be from manhandling it out of the case. It's getting better. Still high with the control close. Better. So high, highest with the control close, low control far away. So now it's high with the control far away and low with the control close. So we'll have to hit the other web. So high, control far away, low, control close. Now I think it's pinched. It's highest here, spread. It's spread a little bit. Now it's highest here, lowest there. High with the control on top, which means it's sitting like this. So we'll have to unspread it a little bit. Now I think it's a little bit pinched. High, low, yeah, too much. A little bit of wedging action. High here, low there. So that, the wedging, it's really loose in this direction. I'm hoping the welding will help. Especially the ignition side, it seems. No, it doesn't really move now. Unless I bump the indicator. Now it's ready for welding. We're gonna put 2 tacks on the pin on each side, like 2 large, wide tacks. And then we'll have to true it again. And hopefully it's not as easy to move then. As you know, I'll be traveling back to the United States next week to attend Bonneville Speed Week and hopefully set the speed record. And just like last time, a month ago when I traveled over, our all-time favorite sponsor NordVPN comes in real handy. And this time there's even more handiness on board there. I'll tell you more about that later. As you should know by now, NordVPN creates an encrypted tunnel for your data to travel in, so nobody can spy on you and steal your data. And that's really handy, especially when you're traveling and have to connect to public Wi-Fi's and shady stuff like that. And also really handy when traveling because you can pretend to be from wherever you want, or pretend to be from home and access stuff that aren't available where you're traveling to, or access stuff that aren't available at home. Access stuff available everywhere. That's the cue here. It's really fast, just one click and you're from wherever you want. So I'm in Norway now, and let's connect to Ecuador. Ta-da! I'm now in Ecuador. Threat protection, which protects you from malicious websites, protects you from malware in files, protects you from like really a bunch of bad stuff on the net. malware blocker, web tracker blocker, ad blocker, URL trimmer, file protection, cloud-based threat detection, and vulnerability detection, all in one package, one click. The other super useful thing I mentioned for traveling, Saily eSIM service, powered by NordVPN. So what is an eSIM? It's a virtual SIM card which you can download to your phone and then add a plan to it. And say you want like 20 gigabytes of data for 14 days, in like me traveling to the United States and having to use my phone a lot and for uploading videos and stuff like that. Well, you can buy that for cheaps, and it's much more affordable than using my mobile service and adding like overseas data to my current plan. So it's super useful, and you can choose which destination you want to go to and what plan you need or want. And yeah, it's so super easy and affordable. And also you won't have to you can buy actual SIM cards at the airport and at vendors all over around the airport, and put in your phone and have that like the dual SIM thing. But you don't need to. You can just use the Saily eSIM. So much easier and just super easy, super simple. And you download it once, and then you can just add a new plan to it whenever you need to travel somewhere and want some data for that place. And there's a 24/7 service, so if something doesn't work like you should, you can always get support. And also, if there's trouble, if it's not compatible with your phone, there's a full refund. Awesome for me traveling to the United States next week. Head to nordvpn.com/twostrokestuffing and you'll get a 4-month bonus on a 2-year plan. And you'll also get a 20 gigabyte voucher for Saily, for like a data plan for you to use if you're traveling to somewhere where you need that. It's a time, I'm not quite sure how long that'll last, and probably like the offer will be gone early August, so be quick if you want those 20 gigabytes. And as always, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you NordVPN, and thank you Saily. Let this cool down, and we'll check how untrue it is and true it up again. And hopefully we can move it still. We should be able to. The welding has made it spread just the tiniest bit. That's our high spot, about 0.1 millimeters off. That's half a thou. There's still a low spot here, half a thou. So probably good, but let's see if we can move it all the way. Maybe 0.0025. I can barely see it move now. So we're good. That's good. Good. The crank is good, and now it should stay good for longer. I don't want the ignition timing to be reliant on this staying put. I'm going to check if this cares about steel at all, and if I put a magnet on here, if it registers the magnet, not the magnetic steel around it. We'll see. And then I'll come up with something. I've got the ignition set in check sensor mode, which means it'll tell me when it sees a magnet. Like you can see here, magnet. And if I place this on the crank, it doesn't register the crank itself, but it does register when it comes close to the magnet. This will work very well, I think. All we'll need to do is drill a hole in the crank web about like here, glue this in, I've decided not to relocate the ignition trigger. I'm gonna drill these pockets I ground a slight bit deeper and use longer set screws and copious amounts of Loctite. We'll just have to remember that to get this off it needs heat, otherwise, well, it will be a struggle. Well, I want a flat bottom anyways, end mill. Haven't got any flat end mills in 5mm, but I've got this ball end mill, which should be good enough. And self-centering for the set screw even. Might be that it breaks because of the not so rigid setup here. Hopefully not. Yeah, now we're talking. So with some Loctite on there, now there should definitely not be, definitely I say. I don't think there'll be a problem now with Loctite and those deep pockets. Should not be able to move. This will work as a puller if I thread this hole and this hole. It doesn't have to be threaded all the way, just enough for some puller bolts to grab. So this will be good enough. Like that. Reassembly. I wish I cleaned up the place before I started with this. Oh well. Let's see here, some oil. I'll pull both sides together and I'll bring it back. It'll take a little while. I'll be amazed if that comes loose now. Same treatment here, and let's put the cylinder back on. I had some camera issues yesterday, and instead of spending time fixing that, I started working on an exhaust mount. This is cut with an angle grinder and files and stuff out of 10mm thick steel. It needs to be a little bit substantial to, well, to be substantial enough. But everything here is supposed to be 6 or 5mm cross section. So 10mm wide, everything else 5. I really regret not making this in CAD and just cutting it out in the mill, because it's taken forever with a file. I wonder if maybe I should strap it into the mill and like finish it with an end mill. I've got like 1,000,000 steel splinters now. Hooray! Not very accurate, like the webs here are, some are thinner than others, but it doesn't matter. Light bit of finishing with a file, and then we'll call it good and weld it onto the tabs and stuff. Ah, fucking, why? I know there's like, most belts aren't like this, with this junction here. My helmet keeps flashing me. It turned to complete shit here. Hopefully I've got batteries for it. We're not going to use these Phillips head screws. They're just, I need to grind down some other bolts to make them short enough. So hopefully this doesn't hit the wheel, which is could be, hopefully not. That's pretty much it. Time to clean up the place and get everything packed up and shipped. Yesterday I had to go to the ER to have them pick some burnt metal shavings out of my eye. I did use glasses while grinding, and I did expect my body to, I couldn't find anything in there myself, but I did expect my body to be able to like extrude the stuff or expel stuff in there by itself, and but apparently it couldn't. It was really like, my eye was like glued shut with yellow stuff a couple of nights there. Anyways, this is the end of the video. I've just shipped the engine earlier today, packed it up, and shipped all the other bits and pieces, the new pipe and stuff. So a little bit of like, should have showed more of everything, but I just needed to get stuff done and shipped. Estimated arrival for the package is the 30th, which is the day before I arrive, and hopefully that holds true. The shipping was actually meant to be 2-day shipping, and but from today to the 30th is not 2 days, so not sure why. I paid for 2 days. Maybe I'll give them a call. DHL. I wanted to show you a real copy of, I have to remove the microphone, real copy of the Bonneville t-shirt. Ta-da! These are available at my on my Spring store. Link in the description. Really cool. Awesome design by Dante Verna. DV Auto Arts on Instagram. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at Bonneville Speed Week.